uh, 15 September 2022. We will have a conversation quite clear, quite simple. First of all, always having on mind that my research is independent, not related with public department or with a company, nothing at all. We had this month, September, organization of system by method considering the governance, risk and compliance that are areas on the cooperative area especially, and we did a SWOT analysis observing that the internal environment must be properly controlled by the internal control. If this internal control fail, of course that your institutional environment will have problems by the incident, I would say, or even that will impact your lack of capacity. We had issued with the FBI at least 4 years ago the same issues that we had in Brazil, but not considered, ignored, and so did research. The corruption of youth comes from areas that the youth go or stay or spend their time and money. And the petty time as corruption since early days was something, very clear and for real. For sure, it is like this. We could, during this period, observe that this, by the interconnection as our environment and the complexity that we are kind of forced to live, of course, that will put in front of your eyes at the social media or the websites or the digital space things that you will help a lot if you are, you know, able to do exploratory analysis. And exploratory analysis will, in the very first moment, observe a vast interval because it's not a space anymore if it's under the exploratory analysis. And this interval we will try to understand patterns, connection, interconnection, which is the connective level inside two areas that had the approach and will help you to understand how this approach that happened before goes and how it is going, and of course that this is a very essential premise to the trend analysis. The trend analysis we had considering the conjuncture, one specific area, leads to negative one as the loss of integrity. Of course, that the loss of integrity, you are inferior than anything or someone or something that has the integrity you lost. And in the same way, when the integrity turns into something corrosive and this go inside your institution, environment or whatever, of course that you are much more inferior than someone, something or someone else that has the integrity as totally, able to be presented and used. It's like the matrix of energy. If you had the charisma as capacity based on speech that sometimes are senseless for areas like the military defense and things like this, that can consider replace the matrix as energy based on oil to something that will blow something and you have energy. Of course that it's not like this. They must believe in things that work in a moment that they are required to use the resource. And we will observe that the comparative measurement leads to areas that have this speech and no other politically correct speech, but having the increasement as oil and the rat race about all this kind of very traditional matrix of energy. In the same way, having the storage of money and it's a closed environment and all things that leads for sure to a mobilization going around as a sequestration program with a storage as a bunker, a big bunker. And this big bunker will take advantage of all things. And to have this continuous mobilization and storage things, you must have and take advantage of areas failured. But since those areas got exposed, and those areas are taking advantage sometimes of their own resources and treasuries, and having the treason or the misbehavior at your own constitution, violating your statement and premises mission of your organization, of course that will lead our sense to the nepotism, which is a privilege to achieve a chair inside a establishment that play the game by their own rules, I would say. But of course, that this game is played not by the corruption and the nepotism, but much more other areas. And sometimes even considering the pandemic crimes as a threat that indeed is ongoing, we will observe that the integrity has much more density than the corruption and the corrosive arguments. And you must protect the integrity. It's like the chess, you must protect the most valued player at this match. And if we are having the look on our blog as Risk Report Trace, Risk Report 2022, traceseptember.blogspot.com, we observe that we have judicial theories presented to the international judicial power having this case. This case is all about the self-defense. And the self-defense, since we had so much aggression suffered, we can offer a portfolio. As a business, that is my area. My area is not have my self-defense. And if you violate this, you violate maybe a business relationship on international level as cooperation with interests, and it's segmented clearly by mailbox. And despite all advices and warning, you believe that you are doing the right thing despite hadn't solved the problems even in front of your big nose. So we move forward. And the judicial theories considering the crimes by specific hands. In Brazil, go is only by specific hands. You can't blame anyone else. In the same way, they are uncovering the view on America because the crimes by specific hands goes by specific interval as geographic space, named buildings or institution, and this give ourselves the idea very strong as Banaxi space with workflow, with their own premise, purpose, but again sometimes their own constitution. It's something totally legal and you can't deny this because this is a fact. And our element as you have the internal fail. But this internal fail inside the Banaxi space indeed is a dot product, like the binary association between ordinates as pairs or peers, and then we charge the solidarity between you all. Since 1988, at least from Brazil, 33 trillion diverted, and now we are charging you. Holders leading by chairs, 2 chairs, and the six at this, very clear element here as the guideline that this trial we have Brazil remains an international community but can't act or have opinions against what they couldn't face or report by lack of self-determination. In other words, by cowardice. Then we will have something on mind. That is this idea that indeed we had as the Banaxi space and the specific hands. The specific hands, which is a chair, inside a covered area that has a view, which is an institution, and you must uncover this. We will ask you one thing. We have, and in the way we are offering to you right now, prove it that we had the space. Is this correct? We have the time, or can we have the time? Space, it's my function epsilon. The space, if is incorporated by the time, could form the perception of some special period. Epsilon I will put as space. X as my variable on time will put as a ground or institution. We have a function here. Can you get it? The space, institution, I mean time. It's like this. Space is the same thing as institution. X as variable, time. Can you cross the relation time and space, forming a specific period? When you do the adjustment to this space and time here, considering the continuity of your institution, like the electoral period, which is a specific period as time with the same institution but acting inside one space, one limit as time, impacting and affecting the behavior of your institution, which is the democratic period or the electoral period. Can you have this clear? Time, space, institution, period of the institutional behavior, failures as regular failures on institution unveiled and exposing specific hands by chairs. In a specific period, we will have the X with the, quoting mark here, that is a special time. It's a time as period qualified as election. And now having the inference, which is the main driver in America's judicial power, and considering the antitrust justice, and the guideline or the big window to get the institutional power is in general the election in all Western, but failures on it, the voting have treason against the Western society, segmented in each nation by specific buildings with specific chairs, and this will go in a specific period. This is a regression, can you get? It's a regressive model. Then we will have that this period that will put a question mark is the election as the electoral period, which is a special time. Here is our function. Here is our systemic control of the function qualified by the special type of variables that we have as the time to lead the institutional result. Can you get? Institution, time, specific period with the same institution acting during this specific period, with specific chairs here having an even more special type of failure during the electoral period that allows to achieve the economic power, at least as a perception by the use of public resource, considering the failure as internal control. Our guideline here is quite clear. Crimes by specific hands. Now crimes by specific hands during the specific period as election. Very specialized fraud scam uncovering the view of institution, which is the same, but the behavior is different by the crimes by specific hands during the specific period as electoral period. The Banaxi space was something like this, but now having the regression into something like this. You know, here we'll have the association x and z with y and y. The situation is pretty much the same, but the kind of thing you have is different. The regression. Banach space internal fails. Internal fails with much more dominance by the special and specialized active during this special period. And the last thing, holders, internal fails and holders. That brings the chairs. It means that the distribution of chairs inside your space is like this. The distribution of chairs during the specific period is like this. During the specific period, the chairs that kind of are very related with the electoral result is something like this. The failure or the relation between this situation here, it's not a relation. Domain and image, it's a function, you know. It's a function, it's not a relation. This institutional group is straight related with this, and if they have the function, it means that they replace the function at source, which is the democratic and the democracy. This Montesquieu nominated demagogy. But, you know, theory, who likes theory? Have a great weekend.